Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are a political writer. All right, don't get touchy yet. So the question is, are we political writers? Well, some of you are like, well, most of you are like, well, I don't get into politics, or I don't really write about the directly. And what is even politics? Well, the argument over here is that whatever we write, whether it's science fiction, memoir, story, or even about the politics of a country, a place, of gender, of class, it's actually all political. I can literally take any book off the table and I can start to analyze it from a political framework. So, most people, when they're writing a short story or a novel, they don't go into it saying, oh, well, this is a political book, especially when the thematic content might not be directly talking about those things. Now, if you look at me, I consciously write sub themes, and a lot of my nonfiction and a lot of my articles that I publish online and that I write on social media are very inherently deconstructing our political identity in terms of class, in terms of caste, in terms of gender, in terms of the way we interact with a highly capitalistic world. And so even my fiction tends to kind of have that lens on it, not maybe as directly, but definitely if the reader wants to take away from it, they would not be lacking in content to take away a certain perspective. But then what about all the other content that's out there? And is it relevant to our political identities? So I'm going to say 100% yes, and it's 100% required that we are aware of it, whether you're writing about space aliens or you're writing about Bollywood or you're writing about Brad Pitt. It doesn't really matter, because what you're writing has a lens, and that lens, either consciously or subconsciously, has a political identity. So why is it relevant? So I recently wrote a blog post about this, and boy, oh boy, did I get a lot of negative feedback on that, because people got very touchy, because people we're inherently trained not to want to be the bad person or not take responsibility in, yes, all the amazing things about the world, but also all the crap and the shitty things that happen in this world. And we don't want to really scrutinize that aspect of us. And I think when you have to understand what your social privilege is, or understand the lens that you come from, that is an uncomfortable process. So say that we're reading a book, a memoir, I can look at that memoir and say, well, this person, definitely, is she a man or a woman, or is there a gender identity over here? And usually when we read a certain book, I can say, well, is this a heteronormative world that we are told to be buying in to subconsciously or consciously? Is there an element of class over here? Is there an element of caste? Since I'm in India, is there an element of caste over here? Who is being the mic? Who's the voice of a certain group of people? Who's being the authority on a certain culture? All of these things come into play, and you know that in pop culture there are so many people being cancelled because they are either offending people because they're writing from a point of view where they think they know everything, but at the same time really can't be an authority of it, or have not understood the lens of it. For example, the lens is that for me is that I'm depending on where I am, but when I'm in India, I'm definitely a woman, come from a mixed religion family, but also from upper caste and upper class background, which allows me to get a lot of conscious and unconscious privileges, a lot of invisible privileges that I have inbuilt into my reality. So no matter what I'm writing, I always have to be in constant awareness of that, especially when I'm writing about other people and other experiences and other lived experiences, whether that's fiction or nonfiction, because there's a lot of things that I cannot speak for. Sure, I can write. I think you should be able to write about everything. But if you are not aware of your lens and what you are writing, then you're not going to even have a confident understanding as to why you're writing what you're writing. And even if somebody critiques it, because there are, 100 people that are going to come and critique your work. And some of it can be social critique and saying, well, why, have you checked the reason you're writing about this? Or have you checked the reason why you've, excluded certain narratives or a view about the world? Is it just because you're not aware, or because you're, too privileged to care? And you can't, obviously you can't write something that will be a perfect thing for anybody in this world, but you can definitely study and scrutinize the lens of where you're coming from as a writer and what you're putting out there. So again, no matter what you're writing, it's political because it can be seen that way. And it doesn't always have to be your intent, and it doesn't have to be, what you're driven by at all. But it definitely will be a positive experience for you and the world, for you to be aware of it and to grow with it.